This is Geometry Unit 3, Lesson Number 1, Rays and Angles. This lesson will teach me to define and name rays, define, name, and classify angles. So I do have to apologize for my voice. I have been sick recently, so sorry, just have to deal with it. All right, what is a ray? To draw a ray begins, it's part of a line that starts at one point and goes infinitely in one direction. When we label it, the end point has a capital letter, and there's one other point on it. Just like for a line, you need 2 points. You need 2 points for a ray as well, but one of them is the end point. So when you talk about the notation, this ray begins at A and goes towards B. Notation for a ray is not reversible. You cannot call this BA, and you cannot turn around, for instance, this arrow. It only goes in this direction. So it's not giving you, for instance, direction. Like if this were A to B, what it's telling you is that this ray is beginning with an endpoint A and going on towards B. It's not necessarily telling you that it's moving to the right. Opposite rays. Opposite rays are collinear rays with the same endpoint. Collinear means they lie on the same line. So picture having 2 rays with the same endpoint. Try endpoint A, this one going out towards B, and this ray starting at A and going out towards C. So we would have ray A to C, and again, this notation, this green arrow I'm drawing, doesn't indicate direction. It's indicating that you have a ray that begins with point A and travels towards C. And you have ray that begins with A and also travels out towards B. If you notice, they have the same endpoint and they lie on a line, defined as opposite rays. What is an angle? An angle is 2 rays with a common endpoint. So thinking about the difference between a opposite rays and an angle, angles don't have to lie on the same line. So they're made up of 2 different rays with the same endpoint. So I could call this angle A, B, C. This symbol here is an angle. It needs to be drawn so I know you're not talking about a plane or a triangle. You can also call it C, B, A, or even you could call it angle B. Notice the B is what we call the vertex of the angle. It's the point they have in common. Classifying angles, excuse me, these should be words you've heard before. Acute are angles that measure anywhere from 0 to 90. Obtuse is between 90 degrees and 180. Right angles equal 90 exactly, and straight angles measure 180 degrees. One last thing as I'm looking at my notes of things I want to say. This can't always be used. Sometimes we will need all 3 letters, and I'll address that here in a second. All right, so notation. If I wanted to name the blue ray, it begins at B and travels towards D. The green begins at A and travels towards G. The red begins at F and travels towards E. The yellow begins at H and travels towards C. And the purple begins at H and travels towards B. Again, if you notice, this symbol here is not directional. That's the ray symbol. And it always goes in that direction. It's going to have 2 capital letters. The capital letter that goes here is the end point. The capital letter that goes here is going to be just another point somewhere on the ray. And again, these letters that you put here are capital. All right, name a pair of opposite rays. Well, the pair of opposite rays are these 2 right here. They make a straight line and they both start at H, so HC and HB. And it says, how are straight angles and opposite rays similar? They're exactly similar. A straight angle is an angle, and an angle is made up of 2 rays that measures 180 degrees. Opposite rays are collinear rays. with the same common endpoint. So how are they similar? They're exactly the same. Opposite rays are straight angles. All right, moving on. Notation. It's asking you to name the green angle in 3 different ways. I can call it angle M, angle TMI, or angle IMT. Name the rays. One ray starts at M and travels towards T. The other ray starts at M and travels towards I. The vertex is a point. It's point M. And classify, this is that idea of you telling me whether you think it's obtuse, acute, straight, or right. And looking at this angle, it looks like it's larger than 90, so we're going to assume that it's obtuse. The red shaded angle, and notice here I have mentioned shaded, and on your notes it says something like as many ways as you can or possible or something. I'm not going to be able to use angle O because angle O could mean this one, or it could mean this one, or it could mean the whole angle. So because we have multiple angles in one here, angle O isn't going to work. It's not specific enough. Whoops, I erased my shading. But what will work is angle MOL, which is specifically telling you which 3 letters, or you could call it angle LOM. The rays, one starts at O and goes towards M. The other one starts at O and goes towards L. The vertex is point O, and this angle appears to be less than 90, so we'll call it acute. Almost done. So this graphic is pretty much what we did in Unit 1 when we dealt with the idea of segments. So think back when we did AB versus AB without, so segment AB versus the measurement of between A and B. That's exactly what we're doing here, except with angles. So when you describe a physical angle, you put that angle symbol in front. So you're saying ABC, and what you're really telling me is that it's an angle made between 2 rays. So angle ABC is made from B to A and B to C. You're talking about the physical thing. When you put a little m in front of it, that's the idea of a measurement. That's a degree. You're telling me that this angle is going to have, I don't know, 50 degrees. So the measurement of the angle AOB is going to be so many degrees. So when you look at letter D here, what I'm asking you to do with congruency is tell me that angle A is congruent to angle C. And here angle A is appropriate because there's nothing else in the way. I also know when looking at these curves that this double curve is telling me that angle D is congruent to angle B. When we deal with congruence, we're dealing with physical objects. These things are identical. I'm not talking about measurements. Are their measures the same? Yeah, if they're going to be congruent. But we don't care what the measurements are. We're saying that these angles are interchangeable. When we deal with equality, because equality deals with numbers where measurements are equal, 77 equals 77. So I need to put a little m in front of the angle symbol to say that the measurement of angle A, meaning the number associated with it, is equal to the measurement of angle C. So the number associated with angle A equals the number associated with angle C. And likewise, the measurement of angle D, measurement of angle D is equal to the measurement of angle B. So numbers equal numbers. A figure or an object is congruent to a figure or an object. And that concludes the video. I'm so sorry you had to listen to my raspy voice. But let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.